Hi, second graders. Welcome back to your TV classroom. Today is Tuesday, March 9th. Let's check in with our zones. How are you today? What zone are you in? How are you feeling? What are your emotions like? What's your body doing? What's your brain doing? Mr. Kevin, what zone are you in?
So today I'm in the kind of the yellow zone. A friend of mine's not doing so well, and I'm worried for them.
Oh, I'm really sorry. It's really hard when people we love aren't doing well, aren't feeling well, or get hurt.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry that's happening.
Yeah. You know what? That's okay. We'll get through it. They'll get through it. And how are you?
I don't know. Let's see. Sometimes it's hard to know what zone you're in, for me at least, because my brain, I'm going to say I'm in the yellow zone because my brain's really having a hard time focusing. Like so much, I can hardly tell what zone I'm in. And I know that happens to some of you. So my brain's just kind of racy today. So I know that I'm probably going to make some mistakes, and I just need to be kind to myself and be really careful and identify when I make those errors because my brain's having trouble focusing. So I think I'm in the yellow zone.
We'll get through it.
That's okay. We will. We'll get through it. And you at home will get through it too, or at school, or at daycare, or wherever you are. All right. But, Mr. Kevin, I'm a little bit green.
Yeah.
Because it's True or False Tuesday. And it's my favorite because we get to use sound effects, and it's really fun. So take a look at this first equation. Is this equation true or false? If I have 132 and I'm going to take 10 away, but I have 122, I'm going to add 10, those are not equal because this is going to be 122 and this is going to be 132. It's like they just traded the holes.
Yeah.
So, no, false. What about this? Is this expression true or false?
Oh,
You're fine.
Yeah, you're right.
It
You're
is
right.
false. Yeah, because this is 153, and this is 140, and 153 is not less than 140. It's greater than 140.
But you know why I worried about that? Because I didn't pay attention to the less than symbol.
Ooh, and you weren't sure. You were like, oh, wait a minute, I don't know if that's right.
Yeah.
But you caught it, and that's good. When we make mistakes or we're not sure, that's going to happen all the time in life until you're forever, right? I teach math on TV, and it happens to me, right, Mr. Kevin? Mm-hmm. So you just have to catch it. That's the important part. It's not about the mistakes you make. It's about what you do about them. And that goes for anything in life. Okay.
Wow.
True or false? Are these the same? True. They both are 100. True or false? If I'm starting at 135 and 115, and I think that this is going to be less, if I'm taking away the same amount and this number is already less, that is not going to be true. That's not going to work because I'm taking away the same amount, which means the ratio between the numbers is the same. So in order for this to be true, this number would have to start less than this number. And it doesn't, so it's false. True or false? Well, what's 200 minus 10? 190. What's 90 plus 60? 150. Man,
Yeah.
they have a lot of false today.
They're trying to trick us.
They are trying to trick us. Now, I used to play these games in my head when I was a student. It was like, well, they can't possibly all be false. One of them has to be true because why would they make them all false? That's too easy. And so I would just pick a true. Don't do that. Do the math. it's important to do the math. Today, we are gaining fluency when subtracting 3-digit numbers. So we've done all this practicing of subtracting 3-digit numbers. We've done all this talking about using open number lines or expanding into the place values. And now you're gonna have problems, you're gonna have time to solve them, and then I'm gonna show you the answer. If they're story problems, we will do a 3-read of them and build a model, and then you'll solve. But I'm not gonna walk through the solving. I'm just gonna solve it on my board, you're gonna solve it on your board, you're gonna check your work. If you don't understand this, now is the time that you need to make sure you touch base with your teacher, because this is when we are expecting you to fully understand this and be able to continue on, okay? Are you ready? Let's take a look. For warm-up, find each difference. You have 1 minute. Go ahead.
That's a little loud.
Mr. Kevin, let's make it 2 minutes because there's 2 problems.
You got it.
Okay.
That was only a minute and a half.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was
faked you
over.
out.
Let's give it another 30 seconds. And I forgot to start my timer. What time? How long have we been going, Mr. Kevin?
8 minutes.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. The answer should be, Mr. Kevin, can you show my whiteboard?
Mm-hmm.
The answer to the first problem is 336. The answer to the second problem is 275. All right, let's look at the next problem. For each subtraction problem, tell if you need to regroup tens to subtract. Then tell if you need to regroup hundreds to subtract. Write yes or no for each problem. So let's take a look. We're gonna look at the tens and the hundreds. So I'm gonna use my highlighter. You're gonna decide yes or no. So I'm gonna do it in green. First of all, let's look at the tens. We're gonna have 20, and we're gonna take away 40. Do we need to regroup? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about 7 minus 5? Do we need to regroup the tens over to the ones? No, but do we need to regroup the hundreds to the tens? Yep. Okay, 3 minus 1. Do we need to regroup there?
Nope.
Nope. 3 is greater than 1. 7 minus 8. Do we need to regroup there? Mm-hmm. Yep, because 7 is less than 8. 2 minus 0. Do we need to regroup there? Nope. What about 9 minus 7? Do we need to regroup there?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, what about 7 minus 8? Do we need to regroup there? Mm-hmm. Yep, because 7 is less than 8. If the number is less than the number you're going to take away, you need to regroup. What about 50 minus 40? Do we need to regroup there? Nope. Ta-da, we did it. Fill in the boxes to find 574 minus 335. Go ahead, solve this problem. I would write out 500 plus 70 plus 4. You have 1 minute. Go. Okay. So the 4 is going to be 14, and the 70 is going to be 60. 14 minus 5 is 9. 60 minus 30 is 30, and 500 minus 300 is 200. So the answer would be 239. Ta-da! All right. Excuse me. Callie has some shells. She finds 132 more. Now she has 215 shells. How many shells did Callie have to begin with? Okay, what's going on here? Yeah, this person has shells. And then they find more shells. And they have a total amount of shells. Let's figure out where the question mark is going to go. Callie has some shells. She finds 132 more. Now she has 215 shells. How many shells did Callie have to begin with? What's our question? Yeah, wrong color again. Oh, Mrs. Wally, I need my yellow. How many shells did Callie have to begin with? So where's that question going to go in our model? Does it go with the total, the part she started with, or the part she's ending with? Yeah, the part she started with, which is a question mark right here. We're not starting with the whole, we're starting with the part she had, adding on some more, and then there's a total. Let's find the information we already know that we can work with to solve this problem. Callie has some shells. There's that question mark, some shells. She finds 132 more. Now she has 215 shells. Let's put that in our model. This is the part she finds, that second box, which is 132. And then the total is 215. Okay. We know a whole and a part. Go ahead and solve. You have 1 minute. Okay, friends, go ahead and look at my whiteboard. I ran out of time to do the number line. The answer you should have found should have been A, 83. Because if you take 215 and you subtract 132, you get 83. Or if you start at the part you know and count up to 215, 83 to 90 is 7. 90 to 200, whoa, Mrs. Wally, slow your brain down. We're gonna pause there and get my brain to slow down. 90 to 100 is 10. 100 to 200 is 100. And hang on, Mrs. Wally. Holy moly, friends, I started at 83. That was our answer. That is not what I was looking to do. I need to start at the part we know, which is not 83. That's the part we figured out. The part we know is 132. Notice my brain was going, something is not right here. Has that ever happened to you when you're doing math? You're working out, you're like, this doesn't feel right. Mr. Kevin, has that ever happened to you?
Absolutely, all the time.
Yep. So here we go. This feels better. 132 to the next 10 is 140, which is 8. And then 140 to 200 is 60. And then 200 to 215 is 15. And 60 plus 15 plus 8 is 83. That's better. Ta-da! All right, let's see. We're running out of time, Mr. Kevin. How long have we been going?
16.
Okay, we can do one more problem. Let's look at this problem. Oh, nope, we're gonna look here. Problem 4. 2 classes are trying to earn 750 points to earn a pizza party. Which class has more points? How many more points? Ooh, so we've got Class A and Class B. Take a look. Which one is the greater one? We're gonna make a bar model. Here we go, are you ready? Is A or B greater? B is greater because 600 is greater than 500. So this is B, which is 617, and this is A, which is 585. So the question was, which class has more points? B, that's the greater. How many more? Means we have to find the part that's different. That's this part. We subtract the part that's the same to find the part that's different. So 617 minus 585. Go ahead, 1 minute, solve. Okay, friends. Okay, Mr. Kevin, show my board. You should have gotten an answer of 32. 7 minus 5 is 2. 10 minus 80, I needed to regroup 100 over to my tens place. 110 minus 80 equals 30, and I actually used the last problem to help me with that because it was 10 minus 30, and we did 110 minus 30 was 80. So I didn't even have to do the math in my head. I just knew it was 30 because of that last problem. And then 500 minus 500 is 0. So 30 plus 2 is 32. Or you can use the number line. Start at 585, go to 590, then to 600, then to 617, and 17 plus 10 plus 5 is 32. That is your answer. All right, friends. You're going to do page 439 in your math workbook. If you see, problem 4 is the one we just did, so that should be easy for you to do. Today, we gained fluency when subtracting. We practiced finding, listening, reading the problems, then solving them fluently, and you did a great job. We modeled the problems, we chose strategies that were best for us, we solved the problems, we checked our work by thinking about it in a different way. Mr. Kevin, how can they send us work here at the TV Classroom?
Well, second graders, you can send it to TV Classroom at tacoma.k12.wa.us, or you can always drop us a note in the mail, the regular mail. TV Classroom, 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin. Now, friends, up next will be ELA with Miss Oslin. Make sure to grab your materials, your learning packet, your learning notebook, your pencil, your buddy, and be ready to learn when she comes back on the screen. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Rules. 1. You have 10 seconds to pick your crewmate. 2. A new timer will appear with an exercise for the crewmate you picked. 3. You will get points for each correct crewmate and exercise you choose. 4. If you pick the imposter, you will lose all your points. 5. Use your math skills to see how many points you can get. Good luck.
Hi, second graders. Welcome back from your break. Excellent job gathering your materials and being ready to learn. You will not need your ELA packet or your pencil or your reading notebook yet, so you can just put those off to the side, but go ahead and hold on to your learning buddy if they are going to help you focus. Now, we thought about story structure yesterday when we were reading some traditional literature. Today, we're going to learn that readers of fiction, that's you and I, closely follow the main character or characters as the story unfolds. And we're going to read a different type of fiction today. It's called realistic fiction. Say realistic fiction.
Realistic fiction.
Realistic fiction means even though we know it's fiction, we know it's a story that comes from our author's imagination, it could be real. Now, our characters are going to be people like you and I that have feelings and problems just like you and I have. And they're going to solve them in ways that are very similar to how you or I would solve the problem. This is different because some of the other books that we've read have had like talking animals or problems that are not realistic. So I'm excited for this today. Also, the setting of our stories is a real place that could really happen. Okay, we're focusing on the characters. That's the who of the story. We're going to read this book, Super Completely and Totally the Messiest by Judith Viorst today. And this book tells a story of a total, everyday, normal family with a mom and a dad, 2 sisters, and a brother. We know there's lots of different types of families. This is one example of a family. And the problem is that one of the family members is very, 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 very messy. Now, before we get started, think about, do you know anyone like that? Someone who's really, really messy? Take some think time. Turn and tell your learning buddy what you were thinking. Gus, my kids, they're so messy, even though there's a place for everything. Sometimes what I like to do is take their things that aren't in the place where they're supposed to be and then put them where they are supposed to be and then see if they can find them. Now, today when we read, we're going to think about the characters. That's the who the story is about. Now look at that front cover. What do you see? That's our main character, and that person is very, very messy. Look, there's like water dripping off. They're wearing a dress, and there seems to be something all over it. Could be paint, maybe it's food. I don't know. And their hair is messy. Oh, okay. We're going to use this graphic organizer today called Getting to Know the Character. We're going to think about the facts about the character. What do they look like? How old are they? Where do they live? Things like that. We're going to think about the dialogue. Say dialogue. That's a fancy word for what do they say? What does our character say that lets us know more about them as a person? We're going to think about their actions. What do they do? And we're going to think about their thoughts or feelings. What do they think or feel? Mr. Kevin?
I was just thinking, you know, when a tree gets cut down, they dialogue.
Bum. He'll be here all week. Gosh, we have a lot of fun here in TV Classroom. So, on your graphic organizer, have this out in front of you, and this is what we're going to think about to get to know our characters. So, what does Mr. Kevin say that lets us know who he is as a person? He tells lots of jokes. That means he's funny, but he's also very intelligent. My room is very neat, like me, Olivia. Now, what is our illustration showing us? It's a very neat and tidy room. Is this what your room looks like at home? Jake, my big brother, is sort of, but not a huge slob. And then there's my little sister, whose room is seriously, I mean seriously, revolting. That means disgusting. I mean seriously revolting, which is one of maybe a million reasons why my sister Sophie is super completely and totally the messiest. Hello, is anyone home? I ask when I open the door to her room, because even when she's there, it's hard to find her. I mean, there's so much stuff on her bed that sometimes I just see the top of her head. And there's so much stuff on her floor and spilling out of her dresser drawers that sometimes all I can find is a nose or a toe. That dresser reminds me of Charlie's dresser. He often has all of his clothes hanging out. And there's so much stuff in her closet that once when she opened up her closet, "Don't do it!" I hollered, "Stop! Watch out!" Oh no. She super completely and totally disappeared. I mean, Sophie isn't just messy, she's the messiest. Who is the messiest person in this family? It's Sophie. Now, since the title says that this is a book about the messiest person, we could say that Sophie is the main character, who the story is mostly about, even though it's her sister Olivia who is telling the story. Olivia, Sophie's older sister, is the narrator. She's telling the story. But she's also a character in the story. And she uses first-person pronouns such as I, my, or we. So Sophie is the main character. So here on our graphic organizer, Getting to Know the Character, in the middle where it says character, we're going to write Sophie's name because that's who we're going to be thinking about. We're going to think about what we know about them, what they say, what they do, and how they think or feel, even though the story is not being told from her point of view. So go ahead and write Sophie's name in the middle of your graphic organizer. And then I also wrote the title. Instead of writing the whole title, which is super completely and totally the messiest, I just wrote the messiest. That's just easier for me. Maybe you think that Sophie isn't so messy when she's in school. If you think that, you would be really wrong. Maybe you think that she isn't a mess when she puts on a fancy dress and goes to a birthday party. If you think that, you would be really wrong. Maybe you even think that she could play with crayons or paints and not mess up ceilings and cats and herself and everything. If you think that, you would be so really, really wrong that it might be a year before you are right about anything. I'm her big sister, and some things I know for sure. And one thing I know for sure is that whatever Sophie does, she is the messiest. Like once we went to the seashore where they were having a sandcastle contest and Sophie was carrying just her pail and her towel. And just with her pail and her towel, she super completely and totally wrecked 7 sandcastles. And once we went to a circus where a juggler was juggling eggs and pitchers and flower pots. Sophie got to bring her kite along. Uh-oh. And just by letting go of her kite, Sophie wrecked the juggler and a dozen eggs and all the pitchers and flower pots. And once we went to a farm to visit some chickens and cows and a vegetable garden and pigs. Sophie's shoelaces they're always untied. All I can say is poor chickens, poor cows, and poor vegetable garden. Now I can say something else. I can say that all of the pigs on that farm thought that my sister, Sophie, was their cousin No, I'm not a rude person. I would never, ever call Sophie a pig. I'm only saying that pigs think Sophie's a pig. I'm only saying this, that wherever my sister Sophie goes, she is super, completely, and totally the messiest. I keep on telling Sophie, try to be neat like me, Olivia. She says she'll try to be neat, but she forgets. Our mom keeps telling Sophie, try to be careful like Olivia. She says she'll try to be careful, but she forgets. Our dad keeps telling Sophie, watch where you're going and watch what you're doing. Try to pay attention like Olivia. She says she'll try to watch. She says she'll try to pay attention, but she forgets. And so when Sophie cleans up a mess, it's a messier mess than it was before she started. When Sophie clears off the plates, they'll never, ever, ever need to be cleared off again. And if you bought a new car and you gave Sophie a ride in that car, it would look like a really old car in about 2 minutes. Sophie is always making and being a mess. Okay, let's pause there and do some thinking about our character. We're going to think about facts about the character. What can we tell about Sophie by looking at her? What does she look like? How old is she? Where does she live? Take some think time. Turn and tell your learning buddy what you know about Sophie. Gus, Sophie has curly hair. Sophie, I don't know how old she is, but I know she's one of the youngest kids. And where does she live? I know they have a house, and I know that she has her own bedroom, because when Olivia said her bedroom, and she showed Olivia's bedroom, and then we saw Sophie's bedroom, we know they're very different. Now, take a moment and jot down your thinking about what you know about Sophie on your graphic organizer. Back to look at the dialogue. I don't know that Sophie has said anything. It's all Olivia talking. But you know what does happen is she forgets. She says she'll try to be neat. So I'm going to put that here under dialogue. She says she'll try to be neat. What does he or she do? She forgets. And makes a mess. Now, as we keep reading, we're going to think about what else does our character say or do or think or feel. Like last Halloween, when Sophie decided to wear a nurse's costume, white hat, white uniform, white socks, white shoes. She wanted to dress like a nurse, but I told her that a nurse is never messy. What I meant, of course, was a nurse isn't messy unless she's the sort of nurse who tricks and treats all over her white uniform. Unless she's a nurse who gets candy corn stuck in her teeth. Unless she's a nurse who falls in when she bobs for apples. Unless she's a nurse who could make you super completely and totally sorry that you ever answered the doorbell on Halloween. I find her kind of endearing, though. What I mean is, maybe you've met some messy people, but you've never met anyone messier than Sophie. Like Sophie's got this hair, this frizzy, fuzzy, curly hair, and it sticks out around her head like a cloud or a nest, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and higher and bigger and higher because she freaks if anyone tries to cut it. Hey, Sophie, who's living in there? A couple of birds? A family of mice? That's what Jake sometimes says. He's only teasing. But once when our dad was combing her hair, he combed out a whistle and a ring and a piece of sandwich. And once when our mom was combing her hair, I thought I heard some chirping and some squeaks. If you're looking to see messy hair, if you're looking to see messy anything, just look at Sophie. I notice, I'm looking at these pictures, Sophie doing ballet, Sophie hanging from the bar, hanging in the tree, riding her bike. She has a lot of energy, and she does not slow down. I hope she's being safe on that bike. She says she'll be careful, but she forgets, doesn't she? I keep on telling Sophie, try to be more like me, Olivia. She says she'll try to be me, but she forgets. Her mom keeps telling Sophie, try to hold the plates tight like Olivia. She says she'll hold tight, but she forgets. Our dad keeps telling Sophie, wipe off your mouth and your hands and your shoes. Try to be unchocolatey like Olivia. She says she'll try to wipe. She says she'll try to be unchocolatey, but she forgets. Okay, let's check back in with what we're thinking about our character. She says she'll try to be neat. That's still happening. She forgets and make a mess. What does she think or feel? Let's take some think time. Turn into Mr. Kevin, yes.
I was going to say, it occurs to me that Sophie might be the type of person who doesn't sweat the small stuff.
Oh, I'm going to add that.
Doesn't get bogged down in the details. So I'm a little messy. I'm busy and I'm doing things.
Yeah. Doesn't sweat the small stuff. Doesn't worry about little things. See, what action? She is busy. I think we need to add that over here. She has energy. That tells us a lot about who she is. She's busy. She's not always paying attention. Keep reading, thinking about Sophie. And just listen to what happened when Sophie said to Jake and me, could we please help her make our mom breakfast in bed for Mother's Day? No, she didn't spill the orange juice. Jake and I helped her pour it. She didn't burn the toast. We helped watch the toast. We also helped her to not smear the strawberry jam all over the kitchen and to not put a ton of cereal in the bowl. And our dad said he would make coffee and bring it up later. So Sophie didn't get to mess up that. Then all of us carefully carried the tray to the bedroom. Mom sat up in bed and we set down the tray. What do you think is going to happen? Knowing what you know about Sophie, do you think she's going to make a mess? Do you think she does it on purpose? No, it's usually an accident. Then Sophie felt so proud that she had made our mom breakfast in bed that she climbed on the bed and started yelling, "Yay! Yay!" Except that while she was yelling, "Yay! Yay!" she also jumped up and down, which is not a good thing to do. To breakfast in bed. I mean, it was super, completely, and totally ugly. I mean, nobody's better at making a mess than Sophie. Our mom says I should tell you that Sophie's a kind and very nice person, even though she messes up breakfasts and beds. Our dad says I should tell you that Sophie's a smart and funny person, even though she wrecks sandcastles, jugglers, and vegetable gardens. Jake says I should tell you that Sophie's great at puzzles and dancing, even though she's not great at cleaning her room. Sophie says I should tell you that she didn't mean to drown the kitchen in water, even though she left the faucets running. Now, do you think it's important to include that her mom says that she's a nice person, that her dad says she's smart and funny, and that her brother said that she's great at puzzles and dancing? I agree. We would absolutely add those to our graphic organizer. And I would like to tell you that even though I would bet my best bracelet that Sophie will never be practically perfect like me, I'm hoping that one of these days she'll start to remember to stop forgetting to try not to be super, completely, and totally the messiest. Now, I think Sophie wants to be more like Olivia and be neater, but she gets really excited, like when she was jumping on the bed because she was so proud of herself. And in the end, everyone in the family realizes the positive things about Sophie, that she's not just messy, but she's also smart and funny and kind. And the problem of Sophie being the messiest is resolved not when she stops being messy, but when her family accepts her and loves her for who she is. And I feel like I really know Sophie as a person, and I can think of people that I know that are like Sophie. So your job today when you're doing your independent reading is to think about getting to know the character. Think about what you know about the character. What are the facts? What do they say? What do they do? And how do they think and feel? And that's going to help you better know your character and understand who they are. Thinking about that this is realistic fiction, which means these are books that could be real. Because today we learned that readers of fiction closely follow the main character as the story unfolds. I would love for you to use this chart and send it to us here at TV Classroom so that we can get to know your characters as well. Mr. Kevin, where can they send their work?
Send them to TV Classroom at tacoma.k12.wa.us, or you can also send them via mail to TV Classroom, 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405, where all the messes are.
Where all the messes are. Thank you, Mr. Kevin. All right, now it's time for our affirmation. This is where we say positive things about ourselves before we go off to do our independent work. And maybe you are a person who's messy like Sophie. Maybe you're a person who's neat like Olivia. Whoever you are is who you're supposed to be. So let's say that out loud. I am who I'm supposed to be. Excellent job today, second graders. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you back here next time in our TV Classroom. Bye.
Hey kids, we want to see your work. Just send your pictures and your stories to TV Classroom, 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405.